On April 18, 2008, southern Illinois and the surrounding states were reminded they lived close to the New Madrid fault line. The 5.2 quake and the numerous aftershocks were minuscule in earthquake terms, but reminded everyone of the potential for another big one, like the series of 8+ magnitude quakes that occurred during the winter of 1811 to 1812. The Madrid Fault gets a lot of minor quakes and has a lot of associated fault lines running in all directions. One fault line runs to the Gulf and connects with yet another fault line running up from the Gulf along the eastern seaboard to Charleston, South Carolina and Boston. All those old brick and masonry buildings. What makes the New Madrid so devastating is something called liquefaction. Quakes on rock are jolts, usually a single jolt, but incessant jiggling happens on mud, like the Mississippi mud, and everything is turned into a type of quicksand with a long, long reach. Not much is left standing. Well, why does North America have a fault line right in the middle of the plate? It's due to a diagonal pull on the North American continent. As the Atlantic widens at the equator, Mexico is pulled to the west while the New England area is kind of nailed into place. So, what's causing this diagonal pull? The massive North American plate is locked at the top, squared off like a blockhead, so it can't roll when the Atlantic pulls apart at the equator. River valleys are always a weak spot where the plate is thin. Well, for North America, this is right along the Mississippi, right through the New Madrid. Nice theory, but is there any evidence of this? A diagonal pull between New England and Mexico would have disasters occurring along a line between these 2 points. Let's take a look at what's been showing up since Planet X arrived in the vicinity in 2003. Tears in the earth, like this crevasse in Arizona. And there were bigger crevasses in the earth like this in Mexico too, just suddenly appearing. And sinkholes, like this one that appeared in Milwaukee in June of 2004. And Pennsylvania, of all places. Sinkholes galore in Pennsylvania lately. Landslides and derailing trains on the East Coast, and breaking steam and water and gas line mains nationwide, and buckling roadways near Houston. All indicative of the ground being pulled apart, pulled in different directions. This diagonal pull causes the land along the Mississippi to move in different directions, causing havoc to the bridges along the Mississippi. Like this bridge across the Mississippi in Minneapolis, which snapped sharply to the east when it gave on August 2, 2007. In the fall of 2005, there was a pewy smell along this diagonal pull. Rotten cabbage soup, old socks, rotten eggs. This was caused by rock layers being pulled apart, releasing rotting vegetation smell to the air. Another and more dramatic stretch stench occurred on August 8, 2007. This time the stench was recorded all the way from Italy and the UK, across the US, and all the way to Australia. Dozens of people were taken to the hospital in New York City and Perth, Australia, sickened by the methane gas, and birds dropped dead in Austin, Texas. At first it was assumed the dead birds were due to bioterrorism. You've heard the adage, a canary in the coal mine. This is due to birds being more sensitive to methane gas and dropping dead. And this is why they were used in the past to detect methane gas in mines. So where is this leading? We're going to have big quakes around the New Madrid well before the West Coast does its adjustment. The North American continent is currently being bowed, with Mexico pulled west, so a bow is formed all the way from Alaska to the tip of Mexico. At some point, the New Madrid will give way in fits and starts at first. After major adjustments in the New Madrid fault lines, the West Coast will start to adjust, relieving the tension in the bowl. There is pressure along the west coast, of course. This will only result in the predictable volcanic increases and west coast earthquakes. But the primary drama preceding the pole shift will be the ripping action that a plate unable to move must endure. The notable area of catastrophe during this is the eastern half of the continental U.S. From Houston to Chicago to New England, the diagonal pole will tear the underpinnings of cities.
I have literally trembled as I have studied this topic. What causes my soul to shake within me is the eternality, the foreverness of hell. But when you think about the severity of hell, you begin to realize it is no slap on the wrist. Hell is fearsome. It is dreadful. We read our Bibles and we can pass over those texts so freely, so easily, weeping, gnashing of teeth.
Because more than heaven, Christ spoke of hell. More than love, Christ spoke of eternal destruction. More than the church to come, Jesus warned of God's wrath and judgment and hell to come. In the time it takes me to finish this sentence, 30 human beings awoke in eternity because they died on earth. It took me 10 seconds to say that. And in that time, since I said it till just now, 30 individuals have awakened. And I would presume a great majority of them finding themselves suspended in black and feeling that blast of hell. Every hour, 6,464 people die, 155,131 per day, 56 million a year, and 108 since I started this sentence a minute ago. I believe that we must pause and reflect on the destination of all those travelers from earth, because Jesus did. And I'm going to show you 42 times just in Matthew. 42 times in 28 chapters.
And remember this concerning the damned. Every sin receives its own torture in hell. Not only mortal sins, but venial sins. Every single one. And that it is wise even for the damned to stop sinning, because of the fact that each new sin they add adds an infinite hell to their own torture and their own punishment. So that the man who has committed 100,000 sins against purity, for instance, and the man that is considered 100,001, the one that has committed 100,001 will suffer infinitely more than the one who committed 100,000. Each individual sin receives its own infinite punishment, and everyone is counted. That is why the devil teaches foolishness to the damned, to the souls that live in the state of mortal sin. Oh, you're going to go to hell, so it doesn't matter. Commit another sin and another sin and another sin. But we discover, when entering into hell, that it does matter. Even amongst the damned. Every sin.
The most graphic description of hell was given by Our Lady of Fatima to 3 shepherd children in the year 1917 in Portugal. The following is what the children saw. Our Lady opened her hands, and rays of light seemed to penetrate the earth, and we saw as it were a sea of fire. Plunged in this fire were demons and souls in human form, like transparent burning embers, all blackened or burnished bronze, issued from within themselves, together with great clouds of smoke now falling back on every side, like sparks in huge fires, without weight or equilibrium, amid shrieks and groans of pain and despair, which horrified us and made us tremble with fear. The demons could be distinguished by their terrifying and repellent likeness to frightful and unknown animals, black and transparent like burning coals. Terrified, we looked up at Our Lady, who said to us so kindly and so sadly, "You have seen hell, where the souls of poor sinners go. To save them, God wishes to establish in the world devotion to my Immaculate Heart. Our Lady of Fatima tells us, more souls go to hell for sins of the flesh than for any other sin. She also stated, many marriages are not good. They do not please our Lord and are not of God.
In Matthew 18, it speaks about the hell of fire. Hell is a place of fire. And you open that door, and there is a raging infernal fire inside that furnace. And Christ described hell as a fiery furnace. You can imagine being pushed through that little hole, and then the door is shut. And it will never open. It will never open. You've burned yourself on the finger. If anything can be a